What's been your biggest takeaway from all the stuff, April Fool's aside, all the stuff that we've learned today and heard from the Bears today?
Yeah, so I'll preface this by saying, look, it's spring, and there's always a understandable energy in the air at this time for football teams. But I can tell you individually, when I got my first one-on-one time with Ben Johnson yesterday here in Palm Beach, that I was almost embarrassingly excited because the conversation that you're able to have and the depths you're able to get to very quickly and the very natural sort of I guess combination of charisma and communication skills that he has, it really reels you in a little bit because you feel like you learned something from every discussion you had. And so that was present yesterday. It was present again this morning at the coach's breakfast. And you can feel that renewed energy in the general manager, in Ryan Poles, who now feels like he is kind of revitalized by the hire he made in January and the relationship he's been able to build over the last 8 or 9 weeks. And so there's great confidence right now in the momentum of their vision and where it can take them, where it has taken them in March with the moves they made to set themselves up for the draft. And now, obviously, as we know, we're just about 3+ weeks away from them making some picks. And it's an opportunity that the organization understands and is ready to attack, knowing that you've got a chance now to add some difference makers to that mix. And if you do, you can speed up your timeline to competing again.
I also appreciated what Ryan Poles was saying about, number one, where they've gotten to scout players, mentioned some pretty specific places when you think about who's projected to go where in the draft, like Texas, for example. And then also talked about the possibility of having a surplus. I'm thinking he means the line. I'm hoping he means the line. But what were your takeaways from what he said?
Well, look, I think that when he talks about that surplus, it kind of, for me, reading between the lines of what he said, it circles back to the premium positions. And from our understanding, Ryan obviously values that the quarterback is the number one premium position, but then you're talking about offensive tackles, you're talking about edge rushers, you're talking about lockdown corners. And so, put your eyes there if you see some blue chip caliber players to take it at number 10, if they are blocked in the short term toward a leading role in their offense or defense, so be it. They'll let the competition figure itself out. And over time, you just hope that the more premier talent you have takes you closer to being a championship contender again. And so I'm really fascinated by this draft. And I've been saying it for weeks that, we all understandably get fixated on number 10. What are they going to do at number 10, number 10, number 10? Well, these collection of 4 picks on day 1 and day 2, all in the top 75, allow them to kind of create a package of 4 players, however they see fit. And so when you start to have conversations about what they can do, it relates around, okay, what are they going to do at number 10, but also what could be available to them at those other 3 picks that then help guide their decisions at number 10. And so it's going to be really cool to wake up on that Saturday of draft weekend, see what they've done with those first 4 picks, and then try to figure out what it means for 2025.
Dan, looking at what you just said with the number of picks that they have in the top 75, I'm curious if you're leaning towards them not using that first pick, at least on a running back, just because of how deep this running back class is and how many other ways they can use that pick if you're Ben Johnson, if you're Dennis Allen, and ultimately, I guess, Ryan Poles.
So that's where you have the discussion internally about the top player on the board at that position, which is obviously Ashton Jeanty, and then the depth at the position, which this year is widely regarded as a very deep position, particularly where the Bears are picking on day 2, where you're going to have those 2 second-round picks that if you really like Jeanty, but you also say, well, it's not that big of a step down to take player X with one of these 2 second-round picks, then you can steer in that direction. But you can address so many different needs with those first 4 picks. And so, like, if they take a running back at number 10, I'm cool with it. I'm cool for the discussion. I'm cool for the decision, as long as you're still trying to find ways to address your other prominent needs with those other 3 picks on day 2. And so that's going to be fun to see how they navigate that with Ryan and Ben working together for the first time with their coaching staffs and the front office staff trying to put their heads together on that this month to come up with a plan. But I think they feel really, really free right now. They have the freedom and the flexibility to do whatever they want because they feel like they filled some serious holes in the month of March that now gives them that opportunity to attack this draft board however they see fit.
I want to bring a nerd alert. I love the fact that we have a new metric that we get to talk about that isn't just Complimentary football. I
No
love
doubt.
that we are talking about EPA, expected points added. When Ben Johnson said this, how do you view how this is going to play out in real life?
Yeah, and I had a chance to talk to Ryan Poles this afternoon about kind of how does this change some of the things you think about, some of the decisions you make, and what you're aiming to get to enhance the EPA, right? And so some of this now, when you hear from the coach and the general manager, is about setting up an offensive system that creates explosives with run after the catch. So now you're going to be gearing up to try to add weapons to your offense that can give you some of that dimension, right? Like guys that are good with the football in their hands, guys that can block for other guys who are good with the football in their hands, and trying to create some more of that enhances that number. And this is new, right? Like we've been conditioned for a long time, and particularly by the previous coach, to look at turnover margin as the predominant factor in what determines a winning football team or a losing football team. And now we've got Ben's stamp on this, that EPA is it, right? And like that's the metric that is most important to them as they look at quarterback play. And so how do you create that? And so it's all the things we talked about in addition to establishing a running game that then, creates some of these play action opportunities and things that can really get your offense unlocked.
Looking at the draft versus free agency, because as you said, they've kind of cleared the way that they can do anything that they want. What is your expectation for this team heading into the OTAs and so forth, as far as being prepared to take that step forward? I mean, is it that different now than it was heading into free agency in terms of how quickly this thing can get turned around?
Well, look, you added 5 probable week 1 starters in the month of March. And so, you feel good about that. And you're definitely going to add another week 1 starter at number 10 overall. And then you hope that those day 2 picks can, if not be week 1 starters, at least be major contributors for you throughout their rookie season. And so you sense an opportunity here. And Ryan Poles has been very direct in saying, like it's teed up for Ben Johnson and this new regime to have success much faster than the old regime was set up for in 2022. And so they're excited about that. Now, listen, like Ben was very forthright this morning and saying, I haven't met my players, right, at Haugh yet. Those doors haven't opened yet. And they will open next week with the opportunity for the Bears to have that new coach mini camp there. And so Ben will get up in front of the team for the very first time and create expectations and standards. And then, as excited as the outside world is about where this thing can go, they are very honest on the inside about how many steps are required to get there. And so they're still, short of the starting gate of getting this thing going. And so we can look way down the road and figure out what this may look like down the road, but they've got to focus on every step of the way as they just get out of the gates here. And so I think Ben is looking forward to that. I think Ryan is looking forward to seeing how Ben handles that, and off they'll go next week trying to get this thing moving in the right direction.
And then just really quickly, Dan, any impressions of the overall rule changes that you see taking shape, or just what your thoughts were on any that stood out to you?
Yeah, Layla, the chatter here has been pretty spirited about the tush push, and obviously that got tabled until the later spring meeting in May. And it just feels like there's a lot of more nuanced and complicated discussion behind that than you think. I think that there's a lot of sentiment within some circles that look like the Eagles found something that worked for them and that they do really well. The Bills have been really good at it also. The rest of the league has to find a way to adapt and figure out a way to stop it. Now, health and safety is going to be part of the discussion, and all those things will be mixed in. But it has been a hot debate here. And so for now, it looks like that's going to be pushed back a couple months, and we'll figure out which direction the entire league wants to take this soon.
Pun intended. I'm sorry. It's just we began.
It's April Fool's Day. She's gone. She's gone.
We began with silliness. We got to close it out with silliness. Credit to Potsy for sure. Thank you for that, Dan.
Anytime. I look forward to talking to you guys soon.